What's going on, boys? So Avowed is officially out and it has face planted so hard. And yeah, do y'all ever get tired of being right every single time? We are batting 1,000. You guys called this one back in November. The developer was hiding pronouns. They were adding gay and retarded LGBTQ tags to their Steam discussion page. And then funny enough, a few weeks ago, they had to completely nuke their Steam discussion page because things were becoming too racist and homophobic. So suffice to say, we saw this dumpster fire coming from a mile away. So as of today, the first review scores are in, and the game is dead on arrival. Not even IGN can pretend this game is good, and they gave it a 7. GameSpot gave it a 6. Even the ultra woke The Gamer could barely give this game a 6. It's sitting at an 80 right now on Metacritic. Can somebody do a wellness check on Paris Lily and Colt Eastwood? One more Xbox flop and these guys are going to be on suicide watch. Reviewers are commenting on the completely broken state of the game. Gay-ass Luke Stevens talked about redoing 10 to 12 hours of gameplay because of a corrupted save file. Avowed is basically if the developers of Concord made an RPG. Many reviewers are talking about the janky 2004-ass character animations that look like they just dropped in a stock character from Unreal Engine 3 and ran with it. Other folks are commenting on the bland, uninspired, and ham-fisted dialogue, which no doubt is laden with trans representation and LGBTQ rights, and I feel seen and celebrated now, thank you. The combat also is apparently just incredibly safe, and there's nothing interesting about it. Basic sword, shield, melee combat with magic powers and spells, making this feel like a 25-year-old game. I hope to play this game when it comes out so that I can roast it, but for some reason Microsoft lost my review copy in the mail. And guys, these bad reviews of the game aren't coming from people like me who want woke games to fail. Even gay leftist disciples like Maddie Plays, G-Man Lives, and ACG are saying this game is bad. So that's how you know it's actually really bad. Also, the god-awful art direction in this game. Like, bro, what were they thinking? Who wants to play the whole game with cordyceps coming out of your forehead the whole game? The map and all the characters just look very bright and colorful and corny like some first-year art student made this game. I remember playing Outer Worlds back in 2019, and it's easy to see how this company landed here because I don't think Obsidian is a true AAA studio anymore. Outer Worlds was not a big game, and you had like 10 small handcrafted locations that you can basically land at. So instead of making those areas on separate planets, they just put them all together in one area and voila, now you've got Avowed. But all that to say, this is not a true open world game like Skyrim. This game couldn't hold Skyrim's jockstrap. There are no horses, there are no steeds, you can't head off in a direction and find miles and miles of quests and interesting stuff. This game has a ton of claustrophobic tiny spaces with handcrafted content for you to explore, just like the Outer Worlds did. So a lot of people are talking about how amateur this game feels, how it feels like a broken AA game instead of a true headlining AAA Xbox exclusive. And guys, isn't it crazy? Because this is exactly what happens when you hire activists to work on your games rather than actually talented people. And we need to look no further than Mr. Matt Hansen himself, the game's art director. He said this in a now infamous tweet. Reminder to black artists out there who are looking for portfolio reviews or job advice. My DMs are open and you will always have my priority. We got too many crusty white dudes in this field. Please let me help you replace me one day. I want to go back to living in the woods. Just blatant anti-white racism. Like, imagine going on Twitter and saying, I hate black people and I won't be hiring any of them. Can you imagine the lawsuit that would happen? And yet, do it against white people and you're totally fine. But then, ruh-roh, it turns out Matt called out Elon Musk in particular. Elon Musk then got wind of this tweet and tagged Satya Nadella in it, the CEO of Microsoft. Elon said this, Satya Nadella, this is illegal, referring to their discriminatory hiring practices. So I was talking with Steven, one of my game developer buddies who works in the industry, and he said it is very, very likely that Microsoft has now settled this out of court for an undisclosed amount of money. This is how Microsoft makes PR nightmares go away. Don't talk about them and pay people money to be quiet. So I would be very, very surprised if Matt Hansen has a job at Obsidian beyond February. He also said this about Trump voters. They need to feel the sting of shame for the rest of their putrid lives, to be honest. And that is me being nice. This reminded me of a similar tweet from Colby Payne, a creative lead on the new Perfect Dark game. He said this after Halo released its gay and satanic Pride armor. Seeing a lot of comments turned off for Pride Month post. I wish all bigots to kindly F off and learn to love others for who they are. Gaming is for everyone except the bigots. I always want to ask him, pedophiles? Are you saying gaming is for pedophiles now, Colby? These people are all mostly pedophiles, so that checks out. I saw an Instagram video the other day talking about how most conservatives are way more open to being around liberal people than liberal people are tolerant of conservatives, which is funny because don't they preach tolerance constantly and yet are intolerant of anyone who disagrees with them? You see this played out on Reddit and on X. On Reddit, you can't say anything without some pussy-ass nerd getting their panties in a bunch. Reddit is the home of the degenerate incel who eventually starts wearing women's clothes. Meanwhile, on X, there's much less censorship and you can mostly say what you want to say because X is the home of giga-chads. Brads and chads like us don't get upset when people disagree with us, and we don't think anybody should be censored from saying what they want to say. Liberals in America have become the party of censorship. Conservatives, oddly enough, have become the party of letting people say what they want to say. But getting back to Avowed, Sungrand Studios did a really good deep dive on Carrie Patel, the game's director, and he brought up a great point. She's a diversity hire with no experience. So basically, she was a writer on the Outer Worlds, she was a writer on an Outer Worlds DLC, she was a writer on Pillars of Eternity, and then she got promoted to being the director of Avowed. Writing is a completely different skill set than producing and creating a video game. To make a video game, you have to understand a lot of different things: coding languages, Unreal Engine, dedicated servers, production and animation pipelines. And the best video games have people at the top of their game who know how to make these things sing and work together. So it's very likely Avowed is such a disaster because the director has no idea how to make video games. Meanwhile, you have a director like Todd Howard. Up until Starfield, the dude was pretty much batting 1,000. And this is because he started making video games back in 1995. Check out his first video game. It looked like this. So again, diversity hires, activists, a focus on inclusiveness and diversity rather than a focus on making good games. It goes down the same way every time. But of course, the blame for all of this goes back to woke central itself, Microsoft. This satanic LGBTQ slop is pumped into every game by Microsoft, and I have devoted my YouTube channel to burning these people down and burning every game they make down. Because this garbage is satanic and it is a blight on Western civilization. In case you forgot, Microsoft has product inclusion requirements for everything they make. Let's read some of them. Are you unnecessarily introducing gender and gender barriers into your code or design? Are you creating playable female characters that are equal in skill and ability to their male peers? Are your female characters equipped with clothing and armor that fits their tasks? Do they have exaggerated body proportions? When the story allows, do you show male characters who display a full range of emotions, including joy, sadness, and vulnerability? Guys, all of this gay-ass nonsense is why video games are trash now. But really, all of this stuff goes back to the noses, and it's because they hate white men, they hate Christianity, they hate religion. I wouldn't be surprised if all of the senior leadership at Microsoft were pedophiles because they are so heavily invested in by BlackRock, and we know that the noses run BlackRock. Check this out. BlackRock just launched a $30 billion investment with Microsoft. So guys, this game is going to crash and burn, but we need to stay united in the next 12 months in banning all of these other games this year as well. Avowed, South of Midnight, Atomfall, depending on how woke it is. Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming out in about a month. Clockwork Revolution will most likely be woke. Fable 4 will most likely be woke. On the Sony side, Ghosts of Yotei. We have to boycott it. It's going to be woke as hell. And of course, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, made by Nose Neil Cuckman himself. It's going to be the most woke garbage you've ever seen. All these games are made by woke LGBTQ activists, and the only way they will learn is if we boycott these games completely. And just in closing here, it's actually a huge bummer to me that Avowed ended up being such woke slop. Go back and look at the 2020 trailer for this game, and it looked dark and gritty as hell. The CRPG prequel to this game, Pillars of Eternity, was actually pretty dope and dark and gritty as hell, crowdfunded back in 2015. But it's just such a shame that they went in this incredibly gay and retarded direction with Avowed. But when you have a bunch of woke activists working at your company, this is what happens. I'm out.